Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2. Well, as the title of the episode suggests, we are going to spend a whole night doing shunting jobs. Last time, we took a job at the steel mill, where we delivered 5 cars worth of steel rolls to the goods factory town. And in case you didn't know it, the game keeps track of the cars you move around, and by completing that job, we automatically created another one, this time, to unload that delivery at the destination. So that's what we will do first, and then, we will take on a second job, which we will fast forward through. That one will be a loading job, which is the reverse of the first one. You'll see what I mean when we get there. Before we get started, if this is not your first video from this channel, you already know what to expect. If you want to be kept up to date, please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see, leaving a like will also help letting me know what to focus on. But enough talking, let's get into it. We stopped right here at the end of the last one. The sun is going down, so we will have to work through the night. Well, we don't have to, we can just use the couch in the station office to sleep for 8 hours, but that still leaves us with a couple hours of darkness, so might as well just go for it. It's better to work in a station at night, instead of having to struggle in the pitch black countryside. Anyways, take a look at this. This is the shunting job that got generated after we finished the delivery we did in the last episode. 5 cars of steel rolls. The perfect job to put a cap on that one. Also, pay attention to that first page. It said 3 drop-offs. That means that once the cars are unloaded, we will need to spread them around 3 separate tracks, which are all listed in the booklet. But, before we get to that, we need to get all those steel rolls off the cars, and into the factories. Let's not make the same mistake we did in the last episode, when we first picked up this particular loco, and wait for the brake pressure to get completely filled. Also, we are going to drive around at night, so we better turn on the headlights. Apart from the dim daytime lights, we have 2. Low beam, and high beam. It's what you would expect. Low beam has a wider cone of illumination, but it doesn't reach too far, while high beams are very narrow, but can light up things pretty far ahead of the engine. Anyways, if you remember, we finished our last job by dropping those cars off at platform D5I. That's where we need to go to pick them up again. We are driving past a double sidings track. We will need to use one of them to store 1 or 2 cars later, since that's what's on our list of tasks. Alrighty, let's get ready to back into Yard D. Be very careful when reversing direction. If you are still rolling in the original direction, you are risking overloading the traction motor. I was going very slow, but it was still a bit of a no-no. If you are going at a decent speed forward, and put the engine in reverse, and engage the throttle, you are pretty much guaranteed to very quickly overload the TM. If you're lucky, you might just trip the breaker. But that's the best case scenario. It's possible to do some serious damage if you're not careful. Since we finished the job just now, all the switches are still set in a way that goes straight back to the cars. And boop. We have contact. After coupling, don't forget to disengage the handbrake on the cars. As expected, we will do the unloading procedure in platform B1L, the only loading track in the station. After that, we will need to drop 3 cars off at D1S, which is a couple lanes away from where we got the cars in the first place. And it seems that track is already occupied. Thankfully, the game is pretty good at judging how full those tracks are, so at worst, we might need to push a couple cars back, but we should have the space. Once we're back, we will need to keep to the left all the way into D1S. And if you remember, the letter S means that it's a siding, meaning it's for storing unused wagons. Now, instead of backing into the loading platforms, we will instead go the long way around, that go through platform C. That's a passenger platform, and that is not something that's in the game yet. But, that's no reason not to take advantage of those tracks. It's starting to get real dark now. In hindsight, I really should have bought the flashlight now, but hey, at least you'll know what it's like to work in the darkness of night. We are approaching platform C. All the switches should be set correctly already, so we can simply roll into the loading track, and get the steel rolls off. Having all that steel behind us really puts a load on our acceleration. And here we are. B1L, the local loading platform. Managed to stop right before the sign. I think there is a tolerance for that kind of thing, but I like to adhere to them whenever I can. And the loading is done through these terminals. In this case, we just turn the lever to the unload position, and it will take care of the job for us. And we have 5 empty cars now. The next part of the job is to park them where the booklet tells us to. We already know that we need 3 of them in D1S, so we can start rolling back there, preferably by reversing into the tracks, so the locomotive faces away from it. Also, notice how much better our acceleration is. With all those steel rolls off, the cars are a lot lighter. "30 kilometers per hour is plenty fast enough inside the station. And since we are going backwards, how about we turn the backlight on? We can't see jack with only the red position signal on. Might as well go with the high beams. Should help us see further ahead, even though I bet the local residents won't like us very much." Since we rolled through these parts already, all the switches are already in the correct positions. Now, before we actually roll into the sidings, there is something very important we need to check. All the cars have an identification code, and we need to make sure we actually drop the correct ones off. If we park the wrong ones in the wrong places, the job will not validate, and we have to put things right. These are the 3 cars we need to put into D1S. CFF 331, 620, and 368. We need to check that those are the cars at the back of the train. If not, then we need to move things around, so we actually leave the correct cars in that place. Great. Those are exactly the cars we have in the back. We can safely continue with the job. All the switches should be correct already. I set the only one that had to be changed as we left for the loading platform. Also, it is pretty much full on nighttime now. The different yards are usually pretty well lit, but the switch flags are usually far away from those lights, so it's really hard to read them. We only need the last 3 cars in the sidings, so I think we can stop. CFF 368, that's the last car we need to decouple at this place. Alright, let's see the next one. CFF 387 needs to go into B2S. That's right next to the loading platform. This time, we need to be able to leave the same way we arrived, so instead of going through the passenger platform, we will instead back into it through the tracks that cut through the station in the middle. Goodbye cars, have a nice rest. And this is where we stop, so we can go through the middle tracks, and reverse into B2S. It's really hard to see now. Good thing the trains have headlights. I just wish they had them on the roof too. When we are dealing with the next job, it will be really inconvenient that we only have them low down. Anyways, we are driving past the last destination, A3S. That's where the last car will go. We only need to change 2 switches. This one, so we don't go into the maintenance depot, and the one that will put us into B2S, instead of B1L. That's plenty far enough. We can decouple now. Just make sure it's the correct car. That's pretty important. And it is. We can continue. All that's left is to park the last one into A3S, and we are done. We need to put it on the track next to these 2 hopper cars. And here we are, the final point in this job. Just as the pamphlet said. We had 3 drop-offs. D1S, B2S, and now, A3S. Since this is the last car, and we verified all the others, I didn't even bother checking the license plate on this one. Let's just get back into the maintenance depot before we hand in the job. Alright. We can shut things off, and validate our work. I didn't power down the loco completely, I wanted to do another job tonight. Nice. Only took us 20 minutes to do a 216-minute job. Not too shabby. Before we get another one, I wanted to buy a very important license. The manual maintenance one. To buy it, we first need to pay off any outstanding fees we have. There it is. Manual service. It will let us repair and refuel locomotives in service depots, which will cut those fees in half. A very important money-saving measure. Great. From now on, we can do repairs on our own. What I really want to get is the DH4 next. It's one of the new trains added in the last update, and it's a really good intermediate locomotive to play with. But, before we accept a new job, how about we go visit the local shop, situated here, next to Platform C. It's pretty dark outside, and if we buy a flashlight, that might help with the visibility. There it is. There are certain items that are only available in specific stations, like the remote control, but we have what we need here. I suppose we could have gone with a lantern, but the flashlight is more useful right now. We just use the barcode reader to select what we need, and then pay at the cash register. And there. Our brand new flashlight. Thankfully it comes fully charged. And in case you're wondering, no, we don't need to buy batteries for it. It's solar powered, so if it ever loses charge, we can take it out during the day, and charge it up for nighttime use. Now, we are ready to choose a new job. I didn't want to do anything big, so I just went with another shunting one. And unlike the one we just did, I will fast forward through this one, so we can keep the episode length at a manageable level. First, we sort out the ones we are not interested in. These two look relatively okay, but the longer one might be a bit much for our plucky little DE2. Let's just go for the one that has 6 cars, instead of 9. And we will go in fast forward from here, until the end of the episode. I kind of doubt that it will be as enjoyable as the other games I usually do this way, but I also didn't want to have another hour-long episode to deal with. Editing the last one made me remember how much worse it was when I was doing 45-minute episodes, before cutting things down to 30 minutes. Anyways, this is pretty much the same job as we did the last time, but in reverse. First, we will go around the station, and pick up specific cars from specific platforms, paying close attention to the wagon license codes, assemble them into a train, load them up with cargo at B1L, and then park it in one of the outbound tracks. The thing is, some of those cars will be sandwiched between other cars, so we will need to take other wagons out of those platforms, put them somewhere else, and then take out the ones we need. Putting trains together can be a lot more time consuming than disassembling them. This is exactly what we have right at the first pickup. Apart from the flatbed cars we just parked in D1S, we also have a couple others blocking our way to the cars we need. So we need to take those out first, and only then can we access the relevant ones. But, be very very careful when you do this. The game does not keep track of you moving cars around this way. If you happen to pick up a job later that uses one of those cars you moved, in the work booklet, they will still show up as if you could find them in the original place. That is why it's best if you put everything back as they were, once you take out the cars you needed. And that is exactly what we will do here. We just move the cars that were in the way. And after we hook up the ones we actually need, we will come right back, and put those cars back where they belong. Okay, these are the first 3 cars we need. Now that they are connected, we can take them out. But before we move on, we should put those other cars back, for the reasons I talked about just now. You know, now that I look at this footage and fast forward, I think it would be kind of bearable if I didn't whip the camera around so much. Maybe playing in external camera mode, it could actually work. But, I'm already committed to playing as if we were in realistic mode. As I've said, the only reason why I'm playing in standard difficulty is to gain access to the photo mode, which I use to take the intro and outro clips, as well as the cinematic shots while traveling between stations. Also, notice the lack of headlights? Well, we have them turned on, but they are blocked by the taller than usual cars we have connected. That's why I wish we had lights on the top of the shunter. Good thing we have the flashlight, that will help us see what's behind us. Alright. Those cars are now back to where they belong. If we ever need to deal with them in another job, they will be right where the job booklet will say they should be. The next 2 cars are parked in A2S, next to the last car we dropped off in the last job. After this, we only need 1 more. It's in B2S, and once more, it's sandwiched between other cars. Thankfully, it's only the car we dropped off recently, so we only need to deal with that. Okay, here's how we will deal with this. We will put this flatbed car into the loading track, go back to pick up the last job relevant wagon, and then back into the loading platform, and connect up the flatbed again. Once loading is complete, we can just put it right back into B2S, and we can be on our way. The only error I'll make is that I didn't park this car far enough into B1L, and we will bump into it as we reverse into B2S. That will damage it, and we will need to pay for it. There. We just damaged the flatbed a bit. It's only a couple percentage points, but that's enough to cost us a couple thousands in the end. Anyways, at this point, we have all 6 cars we need. We can back into the loading platform. Also, we can see the first signs of daylight. We managed to get through the night. And that's the cars loaded. Let's put that banged up flatbed into B2S, and then park the assembled consist into the outbound platform. It will need to go into D20, right next to the place where we found the first 3 cars. And in case you're wondering, yes, finishing this job will indeed generate yet another job for us. This time it will be a freight haul one, where we would need to take these cars full of scrap metal to the steel mill. Wait, that's the wrong one. We need to go 1 track further. And there. We are done. What we can do now is repair the locomotive. At least cut that part of the repair fees in half. Maintenance is very easy. We just park the engine near these green consoles, pull the levers until we have 100% condition on the different parts, and then pay for it. As I've said, it would cost us double that amount if we used the courier terminal in the station office. But, we did cause damage to some of the wagons too. I don't know if we can repair those. For now I just paid with cash. Well, I think we are getting close to the end of this mini-series. I think I will do one more job, preferably a logistical one, so I can show you how those work. We already saw what a freight haul looks like in the first episode, and in this one, we saw what shunting is like. Preferably, I will do that job during the day. I have a feeling that this one might not be the best viewing experience, especially after the video goes through the YouTube compression algorithm. But, I won't be able to tell until it's all done. But hey, at least you get some idea what it's like to play this game during the night. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, and leaving a like would also let me know that this video was worth making. If you feel that it was good enough, and you can afford it, please consider going to my Ko-fi page, which you can find in the description, and donate an amount that you feel is appropriate. And if you did like what you've seen, there should be links to some of my other videos and playlists on the screen. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.